Martha, I see it's all about the nicknames. Trump's calling Marjorie Taylor Greene Marjorie Traitor Greene.
He loves the nickname, doesn't he?
Yeah. What was your nickname?
I've not got any standout ones. My friends call me Maz sometimes, which is because I had an email that I sent when I was about 15 years old, and it was MazK15. So they sometimes
cool.
call me Maz. Yeah. What about you?
Well, Jimmy, obviously. But when I was young, Jabo.
Spell that for us.
Jabo. There was a guy, like a hard man in the neighbouring hood. And my pal said, "Oh, we'll call you that." And of course, I thought, well, I was terrified in case this hard man would find out. And I mean, I don't know why I got that. I couldn't fight sleep. But the thing is, I always had it in my mind, if I'm confronted, I'll say, well, your spelling's different. That's Jaybo, and I'm different.
Oh, you see, you were always ready on the defence.
Okay, but the thing is, hard men can't spell. They don't pay attention in class, Martha. So that would have made it worse. But Mark cannot be with us, so I texted him. What do you think his nickname is?
No, go on.
Well, Stoner, and we call him that. And I said, any variations? He said, Stony, Marky Mark, and some of my hilarious pals when you were aged about 8 called me Pebble. Why would they do that, Martha?
It's got to be in relation to stone, hasn't it?
Yeah. Well, he replied, a small stone. Come on, James, exclamation mark.
Fair point, well made.
I'm Jabo Matthews in Washington, D.C. in the Trump 100 studio.
I'm MazK15 in Los Angeles. On the podcast today, after months of delay, the House finally decides to vote on the Epstein files. What does it mean and what's changed?
Plus, in the world of MAGA politics, they were the president and his princess. Donald and Marjorie have had a right royal falling out. He calls her a traitor.
Yeah, and it's a case of one in, one out, because as MTG jumps ship, the Queen of Rap comes aboard the Trump train. James, before we get into all things Epstein files, President Trump held a press conference Monday afternoon with the FIFA president Gianni Infantino in the Oval Office. This is ahead of the Football World Cup next year, less than a year away, in fact. And the president is talking at this late stage about potentially moving venues away from Democrat-controlled cities, which he says are crime-ridden. What was also clear to me, though, in this press conference is that Donald Trump looked and sounded a bit out of sorts.
Well, thank you very much, and good afternoon. I'm delighted to welcome FIFA President Gianni Infantino, one of the greatest men of sport.
I hate to criticise anyone else's appearance, but he had these very big eye bags, looked incredibly tired. And I wondered whether perhaps this schism in his party, the crisis around the Epstein files, are taking their toll on him.
Yeah, I do wonder. He was asked about the hoarseness in his voice, and he said it was because he'd been shouting at somebody on a matter related to trade. A subsequent question was, well, who were you shouting at? And it was a country, it seemed to be a country, but he wouldn't reveal who that was. The football thing's interesting, Martha. The World Cup, set in stone across 3 countries and, a number of cities in the United States. He referred to LA and Seattle. In Seattle, he says, we have a very liberal/communist mayor, certainly beyond just liberal. If we think there's going to be a problem, we're going to move this event to another place. And he sort of turned to Gianni Infantino and essentially asked him to confirm that. Infantino, who's a man whose lips are welded to Donald Trump throughout this whole process, didn't know where to put himself. He didn't say no, but didn't wholly endorse it either. Very awkward for him as he tries to cozy up to the US president in a number of ways, of course.
Yeah, make no bones about it, it will be a logistical nightmare to move World Cup venues at this late stage.
And it would be a front to the game, wouldn't it?
Totally. And Infantino, refused to rule it out. And it was just another reminder of how much he kowtows to this president. And, another Another example of this, next month, FIFA launches its first annual Peace Prize. Now, guess where the award ceremony is going to be held? Yeah, Washington, D.C., of course.
Is that a peace prize for people with a name starting with DT? Might as well be.
James, it's taken a while, obviously, but at last the House of Representatives has decided to table a vote on releasing the Epstein files.
Yes, Martha, Tuesday is the day. House Democrats, they've long been pushing for a vote on releasing all of the Epstein files. These, of course, are the documents related to the late Jeffrey Epstein, sex trafficker and former friend, of course, of Donald Trump. The focus has been on a petition calling for full publication. And it's been about the numbers in Congress, finding enough in the House of Representatives to push it through, get it up to the Senate, the upper chamber. If it passes through there, then it lands on the president's desk for signing. In theory, that will trigger the release of the files. But with Donald Trump, in practice, maybe not.
Yeah, Trump's done, an almighty flip-flop on the release of these files. Trump, the candidate, we all remember, wanted them published in full. In fact, he campaigned on it. Trump, the president, took a different view. Once he was in the White House, he blocked the release of the files. And this infuriated the MAGA movement, his support base. And they were even less happy last week when his administration pressured Republicans not to back the petition for release. And in fact, he had this extraordinary meeting in the Situation Room with Lauren Boebert, who is a representative for Colorado. She had been campaigning to release the files. He then lobbied her not to pursue for the release of the files. Then we have another change of heart on Sunday evening. The president now saying he wants members of his party to back the petition. I wonder whether it's become clear to him that he was facing defeat on this.
I don't care about it, released or not. What I think you should do, if you're going to do it, then you have to go into Epstein's friends. This Reid Hoffman spent a lot of time on the island. I was never on his island.
It's surrender for me by Donald Trump to the will of those in the party that were against him in sufficient numbers on this. He was also, I think, out of step with MAGA, the base that put him into power, who have campaigned for a release of the files, and they campaign still, despite Trump dismissing it as a Democrat hoax. He's seen the way the wind's blowing on an issue that has been sticking pins in him. And I think right now, Martha, it's a period suddenly very difficult for Donald Trump. The momentum, that searing pace of his presidency has slowed somewhat in the past couple of weeks. The votes at the polls, etc. Donald Trump, he's been confounded by the public and members of his own party in a way that we haven't seen during the 10 months in power.
Yeah, I think in terms of the split in his party, this is the most serious challenge he's faced since his inauguration. There is procedure to all this, though. The House will vote on Tuesday afternoon. If 2/3 or more of representatives vote in favour of releasing the files, the bill then heads over to the other side of the Capitol, to the Senate, the upper chamber. It does seem, though, doesn't it, pretty inevitable that that 2/3 bar will be reached. With Donald Trump now backing the full release, it could very well be almost unanimous. And Republican member of the House, Thomas Massie, he said on Sunday that over 100 members in his party, nearly half the House, were willing to back the bill. And that's significant because if the House meets that 2/3 threshold, 290 votes, the Senate can't veto or ignore the bill. They have to vote on it at some point. It's difficult to know when exactly that Senate vote would be. It could take days or weeks, but we'll know more on Tuesday.
Yeah, if it reaches the Senate, we'll see a similar story to what we've seen in the House. I think pressure on Republicans. Many of them, of course, campaign for a release of the files. Many go home to constituents at the weekend who are demanding full publication. And of course, many don't want to go to the polls next time round, labelled as the politician tainted by Epstein, the politician whose vote concealed his actions and associates. If this bill eventually does get through the Senate. It goes to, as we've said, the president's desk to sign. He doesn't have to. He could throw it in the bin, Donald Trump. But the politics of that, of course, wouldn't be pretty. There's also potentially an escape route of sorts for him, a legal one. He was asked about it in the Oval Office at this FIFA meeting on Monday.
What I just don't want Epstein to do is detract from the great success of the Republican Party, including the fact that the Democrats are totally blamed for the shutdown. They cost our country hundreds of billions of dollars with that, at a lot of inconvenience. So I'm for I don't. They can do whatever they want. We'll give them everything. Sure, I would. Let the Senate look at it. Let anybody look at it. But don't talk about it too much, because honestly, I don't want to take it away from us. It's really a Democrat problem. The Democrats were Epstein's friends, all of them. And it's a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax. And I don't want to take it away from really the greatness of what the Republican Party has accomplished over the last period of time. Yeah,
Mr. President, on affordability, I have a question about Venezuela.
Yeah, politicians on both sides of the aisle have been calling for the release of these files. But perhaps the loudest voices for me on all of this have been the victims, the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein. And a group of them banded together over the weekend, and they did this extraordinary TV advert where they held pictures of themselves. These are women now in their 30s, 40s, 50s and beyond. And they held pictures of themselves as children, some of them young women, around the time that they were abused by Jeffrey Epstein. And they called for the release too. And I think those voices, influenced politicians as well. On the president saying that this is all a Democrat hoax, well, last week, he instructed the Department of Justice to begin an investigation into alleged connections between Democrats and Epstein, because he's saying, Epstein was a Democrat man. He had relationships with Democrats, not with Republicans. The DOJ, within hours, sprung into action, announcing that they were looking into relationships that Epstein had with a host of high-profile Democrats, which I guess just, evidences yet again the control that Donald Trump has over the Department of Justice. It should be stated, of course, that Donald Trump has always denied emphatically any knowledge or involvement in Epstein's criminal behaviour.
Yes, and of course, the people who want a release of the files, they want that statement of denial to be interrogated properly. A look through all the evidence. And that's the central question. What else is in the documents? How much worse could the content be for the individuals named? And why has the White House gone to such lengths to block their release?
Yeah, potentially these files that are held by the FBI could be a great deal more detailed, potentially more damning for individuals and interested parties than those that we've already seen from the House Oversight Committee. And, it seems like we're edging closer to the release date. This process, though, has been far from smooth sailing for the Democrats or Republicans. And arising from it, we've had this major falling out between two of the biggest darlings of the right, this soap opera style argument starring Donald Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, cue the violins. Donald and Marjorie are no more. He's been Marjoried. The president has always been a friend and soulmate, hasn't he, of Marjorie Taylor Greene, Georgia Congresswoman, MAGA poster girl. People know who she is, and that's actually awkward for Donald Trump because she's been hammering away at him over the Epstein files, and now it's all blowing into a messy breakup. Marjorie Traitor Greene is what Donald Trump calls her now.
Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't think her life is in danger. Frankly, I don't think anybody cares about her.
It's not just the Epstein files that Marjorie Taylor Greene is unhappy with. She's also been criticising the president's focus on foreign affairs and what she sees as a betrayal of the America First agenda. She was critical over the government shutdown too. And we expect to see her today, Tuesday, at a news conference alongside survivors of Jeffrey Epstein supporting their cause.
Yeah, Trump's story is that she doesn't support him anymore because he won't back her future political ambitions. She was on CNN on Sunday on one of the news shows, and she said a few things. You will like this, Martha, given your history with her. She apologised, no less, for engaging in toxic political behaviour.
I would like to say humbly, I'm sorry for taking part in the toxic politics. It's very bad for our country. And it's been something I've thought about a lot, especially since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, is that I'm only responsible for myself and my own words and actions. And I am committed, and I've been working on this a lot lately, to put down the knives in politics. I really just want to see people be kind to one another, and we need to figure out a new path forward.
A contrite Marjorie Taylor Greene there. It put me in mind, Martha, of this from a few months ago when Martha met Marjorie.
Should the Defence Secretary and the Vice...
Wait, what country are you
from? From the UK.
Okay, we don't give a crap about your opinion and your reporting. Why don't you go back to your country where you have a major migrant problem?
Okay, do you care?
No. You should care about your own borders.
Do you care about American lives being put at risk?
Let me tell you something. Do you care about people from your country? What about all the women that are raped by migrants?
Do you care about American...
No, do you care? Okay, you're
do you care about American lives being put at risk? About service members fighting for your country?
I don't care about
and your Vice President and your...
That was then, Martha. This is now. I wonder what you make of Marjorie's epiphany.
Oh, I relish any excuse to play that moment, James. But that is, an extraordinary admission on, a national news show to admit, failings as a politician, to apologise for toxic political discourse. It is just not something we hear from many politicians. So, credit to her for saying that, as someone who, as we heard, was told to go back to my own country for asking her a very legitimate question earlier this year. It was, intriguing to hear. And this is a woman who claimed, all sorts of outrageous things. She said wildfires in California were caused by space lasers operated by Jewish people. She called Muslim American members of Congress the Jihad Squad. So she does have a fair bit to apologise for. This break, though, with Donald Trump is absolutely fascinating, because at one point she was, one of his most ardent vocal supporters. She's been at pains to back Donald Trump on everything, from January the 6th, his immigration policy. And I wonder what, I'd love to get inside her head to know the exact reasons for this about turn. And I'm not the only one who wants to know that, because a listener, Anthony, has emailed in over the weekend. He asked us if Marjorie Taylor Greene moving away from Trump is more to do with positioning, herself politically, or if it's about her realising what Donald Trump is really like. I don't know what you think, James.
Thanks, Anthony, for the question. I'm sure you, like us, we're all looking forward to Marjorie, the rematch. At which point we might get that answer.
It's an open invite onto the podcast, Marjorie, if you're listening.
Yeah. Come and have a chat, Marjorie. I think is both an answer to your question, Anthony. Either way, this fallout is an issue for Trump. In many ways, it's actually remarkable, I think, that we're talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene as a serious political player. As you mentioned, Martha, her career beginnings are mired in conspiracy theory. Her politics have consistently been incendiary. She wasn't necessarily the one you'd pick as most likely to succeed, but she's grown with the movement that put Trump into the White House. Everybody knows Marjorie, and her stock has steadily risen. And, in the edgy, screw you politics of America today, she plays that game well. She has prominence and influence. She commands attention like few others, and her criticism, it's got an audience. Trump's worry will be that it opens a door for others who are harbouring similar thoughts, and that would undermine support for him. There's an indication of that concern, I think. Trump came to the defence of an interview that was conducted between Tucker Carlson, right-wing media figure, and Nick Fuentes, who, of course, is a well-known anti-Semitic white supremacist. Donald Trump was asked about it, And his answer was, you can't tell him who to interview. Fuentes clearly took heart from this. He actually had dinner with Trump in 2022. On social media, he replied, "Thank you, Mr. President." I think this is an example of President Trump shoring up support. It's also an example of the dangers, I think, in reaching to the extremes.
Yeah, you can't tell people who to interview, but you can expect of people with a level of the support that, Tucker Carlson has, that, they might be a little more circumspect about who they, give a voice to and who they amplify.
Yeah, and putting Nick Fuentes on the air for many people of all parties will be a red line. There are many who will say good on Trump. Clearly, there are many who would say that's beyond the pale and doesn't represent my politics. Many who backed Trump at the last election.
James, what do you know about Nicki Minaj?
Nicki Minaj, is she a racing driver, Martha?
She's one of the biggest rap stars in the world, James.
All right, I'll take your word for it. But Martha, you know what? See when we get musical references in this bureau, in fact, let me test you. Are you familiar with the phrase?
Oh, no, don't. Go on.
It's an easy one. Are you familiar with the phrase, "I'm a lover, not a fighter"?
Yes.
Oh, name it. What?
Oh, no. I knew you were going to say this.
Well, I can tell you that nobody...
I was going to try and style it out.
A couple of months ago, nobody got it in this office, and I thought, that's it. We're through with musical references, old and new. And now they hit me with Nicki Minaj. But anyway, who is she and what's she been doing?
Well, she's built an unusual alliance with the Trump administration. Obviously, she's not really known for her politics. But on Tuesday, she's going to be making a speech with the US ambassador to the UN, Mike Waltz, to discuss the persecution of Christians in Nigeria. So this is an issue that Nicki Minaj has been very vocal about on social media. Islamist violence in Nigeria targeting Christians. She's been supportive of the administration's efforts in stopping any persecution. And this has prompted UN Ambassador Waltz to thank her and call her, I quote him, arguably the greatest female recording artist and a principled individual who refuses to remain silent in the face of injustice. Interesting language to describe a woman who is currently being sued for assaulting her former manager, but there you have it.
Yeah, Minaj has responded to Waltz, saying that she's so grateful to be entrusted with an opportunity of this magnitude. She said she does not take it for granted and that the barbs, question to follow, Martha, the barbs and she will never stand down in the face of injustice. Do you know, Martha, what the barbs are?
No.
No,
do you know what? And this is embarrassing because I don't know the old music and I don't know the new music either. No, I've no idea what the barbs is.
Well, they tell me the barbs is, that's what you call a Nicki Minaj fan.
Oh, okay.
So there you
so
go.
We're not barbs.
No, I'd count myself out of that. So all eyes on Tuesday evening and that vote in Congress. We'll be back in your feeds on Wednesday morning, reacting to it all.
We will indeed, and we're going to be keeping an eye on Venezuela too. That's because the massive American aircraft carrier USS Gerald Ford has now arrived off the coast of Venezuela. That comes as the US carries out another strike on an alleged drug boat.
On the subject of aggression towards other countries in the Americas, Trump has said today he would be okay with strikes on Mexico to stop the illegal drug trade. So that clearly is one to watch as the American drumbeat gets ever louder off the Venezuelan coast. Donald Trump, he said he'd be happy to meet with Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro. Maduro, for his part, says Trump is fabricating a war. And in front of crowds in Caracas over the weekend, I regret to inform you, Martha, he invoked the spirit of a musical icon. Everybody is at it. Yeah, it wasn't Nicki Minaj, though. It was the man who sang Imagine, who is, of course, Martha.
She Googles pure. Oh, no, I know that's John Lennon. Sorry.
Here's Maduro.
Nazaret, ¿cómo era la canción de John Lennon? Imagining us people. Mira, son jodedores, vale.
I did know that. More music trivia to come tomorrow, I'm sure. But for now, thanks for listening. And please do continue to send your questions and thoughts to us at trump100@sky.uk.
Yeah, Mark Stone will be back with us tomorrow. The Pebble will be back from the beach. Martha, I thought we'd finish with a kind of roll call of the Sky USA Bureau nickname, shall we?
Nice.
All right,
let's go for
I'll
it.
go first. In alphabetical order, thank you from Blevs, Chrissy P, DJ, Eddie Baby, L Del. You go next.
I'll take over. Goffy, Hurdy, is it Jarbo?
Yeah, that's the posh pronunciation.
Charbo,
Jabo.
darling. Jabo, Mickey B, MK, Stoner, and me, Maz-K15.
Thanks for listening and watching. All the best.
See you soon.